everyone, thank you so much for joining with me today. Today, I want to talk about how sometimes doing or wanting to do God's will can be difficult. It might not be in all situations, it might not be in all phases of our life, but sometimes we need to understand that when we say that we want to do the will of God, sometimes it could mean that it's going to be so difficult, but we might have to endure. And when I say difficult, I'm not trying to tell that the task itself is going to be difficult, but it might be that we are not willing to do that particular thing which God is asking us to do, or it could be that it's not what we have in our mind for our life, and that's the reason why we do not want to do it. And the reason why I want to talk about this subject is most of the time we want to do God's will only if it is suitable for us and only if it is according to the way that we planned our life. But that's not the case, because if God asks us to do something, we have to do it in order to be in the will of God. And if we do not, until we do that particular task or particular work which God asked us to do, we will not be able to enter into a new phase of our life, be it physical prosperity, be it materialistic prosperity, spiritual prosperity, whatever it could be. In order for us to achieve that next level, we will have to get through this, and without us getting through it, we are not going to go to the next level. And that is something which most of us ignore. We tend to do only things which are in the will of God and which are suitable for us and which we like to do, and we tend to neglect some things which we do not want to do, even though it's in the will of God. And I just want to highlight few things from the Bible where people had to go through many hardships because they were not willing to obey the word of God, or they were not willing to obey the will of God for their life just because they didn't want to do it, or they didn't like the work that was given to them. And the first example that comes to my mind is Jonah. If we see the life of Jonah, Jonah, the prophet of God, he didn't want to go to Nineveh and preach the word which God had told him to preach. Now, whatever might be the reason why Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh and preach there, we see that he had to go through a lot of struggles and a lot of trials to get to that place where he willingly had to go to Nineveh and preach. But we see even till the very end, he did not like the fact that he came to Nineveh and he was preaching to these people. But he had to do it because God didn't let go of him. God was teaching him a lesson that we see in Jonah chapter 4. God was trying to tell Jonah that he loves everyone equally, and Jonah doesn't have the right to decide what happens to people no matter how much he doesn't like. And that's what I believe is the reason why God wanted Jonah to learn that particular lesson in his life. So we might be going through situations in our life where we have to make a decision and we feel that God is pushing us to do something which we do not like or which is not in accordance to our will. But we have to realize that once God has told us something, it's always better that if we do it no matter how difficult it is or how much we do not like it. It might be that God told you to take a different job in a different city. It could be that God has asked you to change your major, or it could be that God is asking you to marry someone when you already have someone else in your mind. God might be saying, that's not the person, there's someone else who I want you to marry. Now, all these are very difficult, and I understand. We are so particular about the food we eat, and it could be so difficult about the job that we do or the city that we live in or a town or a village that we live in, and especially the people we want to marry or the person we want to spend the rest of our life with. But if God is asking you to do something, then remember that unless you change, your circumstances won't change. And if you do not obey God, you are not going to move away from the place that you are in. We see this with Israelites. When the Israelites sent spies to Canaan and they came back with news about people living in Canaan, there were some mixed reports. Only 2 of them were in favor of going for war against the Canaanites, and 10 of them were against going to war. Now, the unwillingness of all the Israelites to go for war against the Canaanites and to conquer Canaan, we see that they had to spend 40 years in the desert circling about the same mountain over and over again. Now you have to realize that till they changed their mind and till they changed their ideology, they had to stand in the same place for 40 years just because they weren't willing to obey the word of God or willing to obey the will of God for their life at that particular time. So I really hope that you realize that not just finding the will of God, but doing the will of God immediately, no matter how difficult it is very important for our life. Now, whatever major decisions you're facing with in your life right now, I really hope that you pray about it, and I pray that you would ask God for guidance, and you would ask God to give you a heart which would do the will of God in your life. Really hope that this video has encouraged you, and if it did, please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.